What up, though, honorees? Welcome back to the Honoring Me podcast. I'm your host, Rochelle, and I'm so happy that you're joining me. Excuse me, joining me again today. If this is your first time, again, I'm Rochelle, and this is the Honoring Me My Evolution podcast. This is a space that I coined as the Grace Haven, and I'll get into why the Grace Haven a little bit later, just like I'll get into why I call all of us honorees a little bit later, just in case you haven't seen the previous episodes that I, shared the definition or the reasoning behind these terms being attached to my purpose that I'm walking in right now in this podcast space, which this is conversations over coffee or wine or whatever you want to pull up with. If you watch the other episodes, you would know that I love saying that because sometimes you may just need something more than coffee or wine. Today, I got the coffee. So, what you rolling up with? Share it in the comments. Communicate, converse with me, because this is a space that I want to be just comfortable. I want it to be like we're just kicking it amongst family and friends, close family and friends. And, which is why we're calling it the Grace Haven. We want it to be a safe space. Like, let's just get into it now. A safe space for us to come together, share. Because I'm being very transparent about a lot of things that I've experienced. And as this time doing the podcast and doing these videos, I'm going to get even more, transparent. This is a space that I'm learning. It's intentional steps that I'm taking. And what I share is what I'm going through and or realize through my own life experiences and me trying to connect the dots and things of that nature. So today, because if you watched the last episode, it was like a running it back type of thing, trying to clear up things that I did not either close off or explain in depth as I would have liked in the, like the pilot episode and the first two, I think, episodes. So I'm gonna try to do that, moving forward, because this is raw and uncut. I tend to, I'm definitely unscripted, but today I have not only notes but an outline, little bullet points that I want to stay as close to on point as it is, because as I'm talking, although I have what I want to say, in the sense of what direction I want the conversation to go, I allow my mind to, it jumps to other things. Like you get you think of a memory or a point in the middle of your, outline that you want to stay on. And that's more or less to keep it, shorter. I think the last one, ran over 40 minutes and it was a lot longer than I wanted it to be. But it's like you can't rush, purpose one, but you can't rush what I believe, need to be shared, because these are things that have released me when I'm connecting the dots as to what's going on. And before we go too further, like and subscribe. Hey, go on this journey with me. Again, this is a new space for me. I made a decision to do this, and in less than a month, I started, because I didn't want it to be prolonged as my other business was, because I was so deep in research. I want everything to be perfect, and I wanted things a certain way, which I still do. It's just that I'm doing it at the quality level and high intentional level that I want, but I'm doing it as I go, opposed to trying to make it all right in the, before I start. And so that's the reason why I just made the decision and I put that deadline on myself and I started. So, little shaky, cringy moments or whatever in the earlier videos, and then maybe some moving forward, but just know it's all with good intention. And like I said, if we're family, we are here in the Grace Haven. This is a no judgment zone, okay? So, hey, let's get into it, okay? And I think I already said like and subscribe. So, do that. Support your girl, because what I'm trying to do and the message that I'm trying to give is definitely relevant and it's needed. And it's totally free to do, okay? So I spoke on the last episodes. We were just kind of running it back as far as closing off the gaps that may have been left because the mind jumping and things like that, trying to remember certain things, or those new things popping in my head. But let me turn off that so it doesn't interrupt again, excuse me. But today I'm excited about this topic today because when I started this journey, again, it was, well, let me not say again, because this may be your first time watching. However, if you watch any parts of the previous episodes or even looked on the IG page, and if you haven't followed us on IG, go and do that as well. Slowly but surely, we're going to get this message out to those who are in need of it. And the message, although we focus on survival mode because that was the foundation of why I felt the need to share my story and my experiences, because I was 47, 48-ish. I realized, I just had this moment like, wait a minute. I've literally just been existing. It was this, cloud. I don't like the word depression because I'm big on how I speak over myself. And if you're not doing that, I strongly suggest that you do. I've been that way for decades, making sure that my words match what I want my I guess reality to be. So I don't say I'm sick. I may be under the weather. I may have a medical challenge right now that I'm experiencing, but I'm not going to claim that I'm sick or anything like that. So that's what I mean by, how I want my reality to be. Not the whole, totally different from the manifesting that everyone, speaks on so much now. But anyway, that's something else. But moving on, I wanted to make sure that, see, there it is. I jumped from topics. What was I saying? I want to make sure that, oh my gosh, this is truly a moment. Y'all, please forgive me. Again, Grace Haven. No judgment zone, but I truly did lose my train of thought. I'm going to hate this when I run this back. And see, I like to let it run. See the oopsie daisies, the uh-ohs, and the errors or whatever. I'm not cutting anything out. So, work with me. And I'm going to just go to the next bullet point and say today. And hopefully it will come back to me. But today, or I'll put it down in the comments or whatever, or in the description once I do watch it back to see where was I going with that. But today I'm talking about how my research, how I connect the dots with my life experiences. And when I started this, I think this is what it was. When I started this, I'm like survival mode. I'm sitting up here like just existing. I have not lived life. I've been raising children, but I have not lived life. Yeah, I've gone out. I've done things like that, but I have not lived life. I have not tapped into anything that I wanted to do, what my, heart desires, where I was just moving off of muscle memory. And with that being said, I know that I speak on survival mode a lot, but as I researched, as I started this journey, I started connecting dots, and I'm like, my mind is blown by the dots that's being connected as it relates to my health. I'm currently experiencing nerve compression. I have been pulled off work because of the severity of the nerve compression. And as I done the research and doing the research, and I'm learning how from way back when in childhood that this has started. So I'm reading the things. This is what my notes are on. And why was I writing in light pen? Because it's a struggle trying to read all this today and seeing how my hands are affected. My handwriting gets worse the more I write. So anyhow, I know we're totally different than what a normal podcast space would be, but like I said, this is what it is. This is how I come, as far as, and why I like it, the authenticity, the raw and uncut, and just a space of community where, again, we're not judging, we're having conversation, and I'm sharing what I'm learning. So let me truly get into this and not keep rambling, yapping, as my children call it, because we are already over 10 minutes in. This is wild. Okay, so, get it together. I want to share that what I've learned in research, and these are articles that I read, and I vet everything. When I say I'm a researcher, I'm a researcher. And I look deep into the articles, where the sources are, who's speaking on it, what their credentials are. And although it's in the description, I'm going to say it here in the video, I am not a clinician. I'm not a preacher. I am a student of, a student of the things that I'm experiencing in my life. And as I've slowed down, since I'm not punching the clock right now, I'm praying and speaking healing over myself. I believe in Christ. I am deeply in love with Christ and truly believe in his promises. And this nerve compression is not of God, so I ain't claiming it. I'm dealing with it. I'm going through it, but I believe in my healing. So with that being said, as I have identified the things that I'm going through, and as it relates to, it's more on the survival mode, I guess is addressed more on the mental health side, rather than the physical health side. So why the physical healthcare professionals and the mental health professionals don't work together as far as connecting the dots for people that come in with certain symptoms, I don't know. And this is another reason why I feel this message is important, because what I've learned is that this nerve compression can truly stem from, I get that it comes from, repetitive motions, right? But it's a lot of people who have jobs, that have, a day full of repetition, and how they, use their hands or, legs, whatever the case may be, their joints, or whatever, and don't experience what I'm experiencing now. So with that being said, why me over someone? Well, let me not say why me, because it's not a woe is me or why me type of thing, but I'm only asking me and my job, which I was, in administrative work a lot. I typed a lot, customer service, medical billing, things of that nature. So I did type a lot in every position I've ever had in the health profession, or the healthcare field, I should say. But me doing the work the same work that somebody else has done, but they don't have this particular challenge of health, the why me over them thing, I believe, relates to living in survival mode for as long as I've been living in survival mode. Reading these articles, I've had it's like you rewind, your life experience. And as I'm reading these articles, I'm like, wait a minute. I recall the time where I used to have stomach aches like crazy, like bent over pain, abdominal pain. And my mom, I remember a time we had it addressed at the doctor's office before, but that one time it was so painful that my mom took me to the ER, and the doctor couldn't find anything wrong and just, wrote it off as being a tension pain or whatever. And I was like elementary school age. So just imagine if the mental health field and the physical health field connected those dots back then and gave me some type of tools to help with whatever tension that was going on in my, youth. Then maybe I wouldn't be sitting here today, 2026, with nerve compression. It's uncomfortable sitting in this chair right now. It's uncomfortable to do so many things. I use discomfort over pain because, again, I'm big on words, but discomfort seems like it's just a little less, painful, but it's a challenge to do a lot of things, okay? And I push through it because I got things to do. I have my own goals and dreams and desires, and that's one of those things that I realized that I wasn't tapping into when it came to being in survival mode. When I realized I was just existing and things of that nature. And I am so totally off my outline. It's wild. So, and I also want to say that again, well, let me stop saying again. Being in survival mode sometimes is inevitable, okay? Because things happen. If we're facing some type of threat, whether it's natural disaster or whatever the case may be, a sudden threat, we are going to be in survival mode. But that's supposed to be just for that moment until that threat is over. So it's temporary. It's meant to be temporary. But for those of us that have remained in survival mode, and as long as I've been in survival mode, I just turned 50 last summer, and if I can date this back all the way to being in elementary school, that's decades of being in survival mode, which can be the reason, based off of all the articles and research I've done and connecting those dots, can be the reason why the severity of my situation is what it is. And, I heard doctors saying like, well, once you have this surgery, it should be, you should go back and be, right back to what you were doing. Because typically, I guess, that once you have those nerve compression release procedures, it usually, people just bounce back and it is what it is. But for me, it just kept revealing more compression. It went way deeper than my hands, which is what it started with, and everything like that. And so another thing I would say is that listen to your body. Listen to your body. We are carrying or have on body armor that we are not even aware of. All the clenching, the tension, like my shoulders. I mentioned before when like going to my eyebrows. She was my nail tech, but she also arched these brows and everything. And she would constantly just push down, like relax, relax. In my mind, I'm relaxing. But that was natural for me. Everything was just tense. Everything was just tense. And I never, of course, related it to being in survival mode. I never related it to, my nervous system not being relaxed. I never related it to anything. I just thought it's me. I'm like, I'm relaxing. She like, no, you're not. And then so I would drop my face and, thinking I'm helping out, but yeah, it was doing absolutely nothing. And, you know, realizing that my shoulders are always up, it's all a part of survival mode. And when you don't recognize that you're in survival mode, which I didn't, and because I didn't, I'm pretty sure there's many more like me that did not know and don't realize what type of things it can affect. And let's run that back too. Talk about some of the things that it can affect. It can heighten anxiety, the burnout, the depression. And I'm gonna have to share the articles because it's so many notes that I have. I'm gonna share the articles that I pulled this information from in the description. So definitely look there. And I was totally, mine again was totally blown when I, when it was saying that, as far as decision making being short term for the moment, which means I don't know about you, but I'm just thinking about that moment. How do I get through this moment? How do I handle, resolve an issue, problem solve for this moment? I'm not thinking about anything about the next 10, 15 minutes we're talking about right now. So it affects those decision-making skills. It keep us in a short-term mindset. And it also, keep us, like in a defensive mode. Like we're always thinking. I'm not going to say that I always thought something was going to happen, but I was always prepared. And that's why I'm like, I'm a problem solver. I'm a fixer on this. And reading these articles, I'm like, wait a minute. So I'm thinking, which they're still good, skills or attributes to have, but the articles are putting it like, this is the reason why we're that way, potentially, because we've always had to, being in that fight or flight mode all the time, you're bracing yourself for something to happen for you to fix and problem solve. And when I say it's wild, let me see some other things. And the fact that survival mode, coming from being in survival mode and because of trauma or that threat or whatever, and so it clenches the muscles, and the muscles then put pressure on our nerves, hence my nerve compression. And maybe your nerve compression, if you're experiencing it, can be from it as well. Or the point of me sharing all of this is so you don't have to deal with the nerve compression. I share, the movements, like, with my children, like, you don't want to hold your phone too long. You don't want to hold it like this. Don't sit like this. Pay attention to your posture, all that type of stuff. I say that to them because I don't want them to experience what I'm experiencing. And it wasn't that I was holding my phone. It's, me typing or, me writing. I used to love to journal. I can't do it as frequently because I used to do it daily and multiple times out the day if I needed to put, release something from my mind. But I can't do that as frequently, and definitely not long passages. I used to write 4 pages front and back, if not more. And unfortunately, I'm believing in my healing. Thank you, Jesus. So as of right now, I probably get, half page in or something in a size, like this or whatever. But before, I would have a regular size, notebook and be filling it up. Like, had a whole bunch of thoughts to let out. So anyhow, I want to help someone avoid all of this. And Because I would go to the doctor and I would share my discomfort, and the tests weren't showing up with anything. My EMGs were inconclusive more times than not. And some were showing, carpal tunnel, but they just kept saying mild. Everything was just mild. I'm like, ain't nothing mild about the discomfort I'm going through. So y'all not gonna keep dismissing me. Oh, another thing, you have to be proactive. Okay, hear me, proactive in your health. Because I've had doctors, I've been blessed to work with a lot of amazing doctors. Okay, so having that experience as working with some amazing doctors and how they showed the care for their patients, how they were very relentless and diligent in their care, not dismissing what they were saying. I've had that privilege of working with them, but my experience seeking health from other, doctors or whatever, totally different. And so we'd be in the room having a face off. Like, no, like, who are you talking to? Like, are you going to tell me what I'm experiencing? My first time seeing you and you telling me what I'm experiencing without me even telling you? Like, no. Like, that's not how that works. So you got to make sure that people are listening to you. Do not take the first thing that they say. Okay? Go fact check it yourself, get a second opinion, whatever it takes. Because I've had doctors wanting to give me medicine, and you want to give me medicine, but you can't identify where my discomfort is coming from? What sense does that make? I'm not popping pills just to be popping pills. And I'm not going to accept pain medicine when you can't tell me where my pain is coming from. Why am I taking pain medicine? So, that's getting off into something else. But my point is, if someone listened to me when I was telling them about my discomfort and everything, and if I was more focused on myself, which being in survival mode, one of the things that you do is you neglect yourself. So it may be 2 years before I bring it up again, because that's about the next time I get to the doctor, because all of my time was for my children. I kept my time for my children because, you have unexpected, not feeling well, got to call off this, that, and another. So thinking about, I have to, I just got to keep my job because somebody got to take care of these babies. I need my money. So, I'm not calling off for myself. So I'm pushing through the discomfort, typing away, writing away, doing what I have to do, and pushing, through all of that. And so each time that I did get to go to the doctor, I try my best to do my yearly exams because, again, being in the healthcare field, I just know the importance of it. So if you're not doing your annual exams, please go and do your annual exams. So with that being said, I would have, physicians, want to do procedures, but can't tell me what's what, and that is just wild to me. So just be very careful, be proactive with your health and everything like that. But like I said, as I'm doing the research and I'm looking up all these things and I'm connecting the dots with my own life. So when I say that I'm sharing with you what I'm learning and what I'm connecting the dots to in my own life, I'm trying to share that with people because, like me, you may not have thought about it. You're not connecting the dots. The doctors are not connecting the dots. You're experiencing, the anxiety, which is heightened for being in survival mode. If you're always expecting, something to happen, if you're always, bracing for something to happen and things of that nature. Let's see. It says, let's see. Oh, they're sharing steps to healing. Oh, let me share this as well. It says survival mode can be brought on by traumatic experiences, which can result in constant high anxiety, depression. It doesn't subside. Relationship challenges, inability to trust others, difficulty achieving daily life tasks, angry outbursts, which we talked about that, the whole, popping off or whatever. And I wasn't a real pop off type thing just off rip, I was have a lot of patience. I really do. And sometimes I may have needed to pop off, but which would be a different topic or episode, because people would sit there and take it for weakness. And not again, I know that I'm focused so much on survival mode now, but this space is, as we stress survival mode enough, and how we need to not be in it all the time, because it does affect our daily lives. And how, if I had that state of mind from childhood all the way to my 50s, and just imagine if the muscles clench, and it put pressure on the nerves, and start clenching things from within, and we're clenching things on the outside. Just imagine the trauma we putting on our own bodies. Okay, so I'm so adamant about pushing that point as far as I need to push it. But we're going to be, grounded and other things as well, because I also want to mention the state of the world today. Whether we are in survival mode or not, the state of this world today, may involuntarily push us in survival mode, and we don't even know it. So it's like just sharing the key symptoms, or ways that we can identify if we're in survival mode or not. And those are some of the ways, because we all have days that we don't want to be bothered, or days that we're just, sit in our emotions for whatever. And sit in our emotions we should identify if we're feeling sad or overwhelmed and things like that. And it goes back to our 15-minute firewall that we talked about in another episode, how we have to, it's like imperative that we take moments to ourselves. We having a hectic day, take those 15 minutes, if not more. But you need to take a moment, and your your woosah moment. Take deep breaths, release whatever it is, sit in that emotion. Okay, sit in the emotion, because you need it. Our body needs it. It needs to be released. And a lot of people are too strong to cry. Like I don't like crying. I mean, it's not that I see it as a weakness. I just feel like I don't want to cry. But every time I kneel and pray, I tell you, I'm crying. I'm releasing things. But that's a way for us to release trauma, and to release from what I read, because again, I'm not a clinician, but everything just makes perfect sense. So if any of this resonate with you, definitely look at the description, and I will share the articles again that I pulled this information from. But everything that I read, it's from the behavior mental health community professionals. It's the therapists that's sharing this. And speaking of therapists, y'all, I bought this book. This is Dr. Anita Phillips, The Garden Within. This is no, I'm learning this space, but I think I got to say, like, no sponsorships, no promotions. It's nothing like that. This is me personally sharing the book that I bought when it was released, which I think was probably like 2 years ago. That's sitting over here on my bookshelf with all my other books that I buy. Like, I buy a book quick. I love the bookstore. I love going in, picking up the books that I learned about and that people shared with me. She was actually preaching at the Potter's House. I believe her title for the sermon was the same thing. And her getting so deep of how our bodies are built and connected, and putting all the biblical connections to how our bodies was created, and how Christ was so intentional about how he created us and how our bodies operate. I was so amazed by it. So when I learned that she had a book and everything, I'm like, oh, I'm going out getting a book. I haven't read it yet. So I'm trying to get back into that too. However, unfortunately, because of the challenges of the nerve compression that I face, I have not been able to enjoy my books as much because it's uncomfortable for me to hold the book. It's uncomfortable for me to sit. It's like it's a whole weirdness or whatever. So I don't want that for you. Okay, I do not want it for you. So take heed to what I'm saying. And I know, like I said, my children say I yep. So eventually I get better at this, where I will be able to shorten the time of these videos. And it's it's so wild that I really try to, write an outline. Well, I don't try to write the outline. I write the outline of what I want to stay on, and I always veer away from it, like always. So let me do a little quick check. So read the book as I read it. Like I'm suggesting to read it. I haven't read it yet, so I'm gonna read it too. So maybe one of the next episodes or whatever, if you chose to, pick the book up and read it yourself, or if you have read it, share some of your takeaways. What did you learn? How did it help you? How did it free you from, what you're doing? And this is, the type of things we're going to be talking about too. It's not going to be all about survival mode, but again, I just want people to not be in that state. If you're in it, come out of it. Walk with me as I take daily intentional steps to stay away from it. I'm grounded. I'm anchored in Christ. I want that for everyone as well. So you can get that peace that surpasses all understanding. And I shared before how John 10:10, I believe, how it tells you how the enemy comes to kill, steal, and destroy. And, Christ comes so we can have life more abundantly. But how I tied and how survival mode ties into the whole kill, steal, and destroy, because the time being in survival mode, when it's not that temporary thing, it's that long-term thing, like it was for myself. It steals away, robs you of your heart's desires, robs you of you going after your dreams, rob you of being able to be present in the moment. It destroys those, like it's certain memories I just don't have, because although I was present, I wasn't present. So it's like those are years that I'm not going to get back. It's experiences I'm not going to get back. So yeah. And a scripture that I want to share today is Psalms 46:10, which lets you know to be still and know that he is God. Okay? Be still and know that he is God. If you don't currently have a relationship with Christ, I strongly encourage it. I will share my experiences, what I've learned with Christ, walking with Christ, seeking Christ, and how even when all hell is breaking loose around me, I'm not talking about just in the outside world. I'm talking about if things are going crazy and chaotic and being challenged, me even sitting in this nerve compression, I'm experiencing it, but God's going to turn all this around for my good. And it may be the good of me sharing it with you all, because again, let me stop saying again. If one person recognize that they're in survival mode and they come out of it and they start taking the intentional steps to stay out of survival mode, because you start recognizing some of the symptoms that I shared with you through these articles that I'm reading, and you can have your own aha moment, that right there is the Lord taking my journey, my experiences, my difficulties and challenges, and turning it around for good. So the scripture says it's working. He's working those difficulties out for our good. So I encourage the seeking Christ, learning the truth about Christ, because it's too much out here that is not real about Christ. It's a lot of truth being shaped for other people's pleasures, like they're twisting it to match their agenda, and it doesn't speak on who Christ and his character truly is. So the biggest way that you can start seeking a relationship with Christ is by reading his word. I would never, let me go to my Bible, okay? And I'm going to read it strictly 46:10, Psalms 46:10. It says, "Be still and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the heathen," which heathen is for nations. "I will be exalted in the earth." So it says, "The Lord of hosts is with us. The God of Jacob is our refuge." Salat. So that goes into 46:11. But my whole point of that is read his word, learn who he is. And that would, totally cancel out all the lies that is being told in Jesus, using Jesus name for the lies, but it's not Jesus. So you have to dispel those things on your own, and the only way you can do that is by reading the word. And here I am already going into the 40-minute range again. So if you've made it this far, which I hope you did, because look, hey, not only am I a talker, I just, have a lot to share. And because it's raw and uncut and it's unscripted, it make it where, I can jump around and things of that nature. But again, we're in the Grace Haven. So, no judgment. No judgment. Your girl can talk, I know. But your girl got some points. And your girl's trying to share some things with people. So, if any message, part of the message resonate with you, or if it's someone that you know that can possibly be experiencing it, being in survival mode, or some of these things can be connected to them, talk to your doctor. Like, say, hey, can any of these things I'm going through be connected? Or seek a therapist and ask them, since it's more or less their area of expertise, it seems. It doesn't appear that the physicians on the physical side of our health is, really in tune with all of it. But let's see here. I want everyone, including myself, this episode is late because I had to, oh my goodness, I had to rest up. I had pushed myself with my business. I have an apparel business, and oh my gosh, the launch that I did a week or so ago, I pushed myself so crazy because I wanted to get everything done on time. And so I pushed the limits. I totally threw out the whole firewall, the whole resting, honoring me, acknowledging, and listening to my body. And it caught up with me, and it had me, I hate to say down and out, but it forced me to rest. Like, I really couldn't, utilize, my hands. It was uncomfortable to sit up and all that type of stuff because I was sitting in this chair. And so yeah, it does its, toll on me or whatever. But thank the Lord for his healing. Thank the Lord in advance for his healing. So what I want to say as I'm trying to wrap all of this up is as we rest, as we honor ourselves with listening to our bodies and take the necessary time to rest, and that we listen to our own self, like a lot of times we know we need to rest, but we're like, oh, well, I still have all this to do or whatever. You have to take care of yourself. You have to honor yourself. You have to listen to yourself, because all of the people that is dependent on us, and, if you like me, whether you have, young children that's more dependent, or adult children, or, you have your parents, or, whatever the case may be, your spouse, whatever, that needs you and look for you to do certain things. If you're not taking care of yourself, you won't be any good to them. I know you've heard that just like I've heard it before. And just know I'm taking those intentional steps too. I'm on this journey currently, okay? I'm not just talking, everything is not all past tense. This is current intentional steps and um learning that I'm doing, and finding out. The discovery is new for me as well, and I'm sharing with you as I learn. I'm connecting the dots with my own life. This is what, the whole point of me starting all of this. So yeah. So again, I'm in Rochelle. I'm practicing what practice what I preach without preaching, but sharing, I'm practicing it too. I want you to go on this journey with me. So like and subscribe, come back. It's a journey of coming out of survival mode, recovering from survival mode. It's the journey of this whole video podcast space. And I did the whole air quotes earlier because, yeah, I don't, it's labeled as a podcast, but it really is more of a, kickback, talking, sharing something with you. We're going to go deeper and do more, lifestyle type of things, but it's more of a personal testimony, which I believe we all can learn from my testimony, just like I can learn from your testimony. And we have life experiences to share. So don't be afraid to share. Don't be reluctant to share, because you can be going through something right now that I've already gone through, that I can give my wisdom behind the experience, and vice versa, right? So our journey is meant to be shared. I'm not afraid, ashamed of any parts of my journey, regardless if it's like, oh my gosh, I did that, or oh my gosh, I reacted that way, or I said that, blah blah blah. It doesn't even matter. I'm not ashamed of any of it. I will share and be transparent, and I will, definitely, share what I feel is relevant to whatever the conversation is at the moment. But yeah, I want to leave with this note. Resting is an act of war against survival mode. Okay? Rest is an act of war against survival mode. It's the ultimate way to honor the me, our evolution, well, my evolution, but our evolution. So that's what rest would do. It would be honoring you as you evolve, so we're not repeating. We don't want to keep repeating the same thing. We definitely don't want to continue to repeat, causing our own trauma in our bodies, right? So so when you rest and you're honoring yourself, so when you honor yourself, and by trusting the Creator, who is greater than any trauma, threat, any type of chaos in our life, He's greater than all that. So yeah, rest up, be intentional, continue to stay hungry to change and evolve. And yeah, until next time, beautiful people, I'm in Rochelle.